Who's up for an adventure?
Hey everybody, with the Saviors of Uldum expansion coming out soon, my teammate Bloodyface and I came together and made a set review so we could go over all the cards and give you guys a sense of how powerful we think some of these cards are going to be. So enjoy and have fun when the expansion comes out. Paladin, did I just do that one? Yeah, so you're...
Yep. I've learned that I always start and you finish.
Oh, because there's 10, so it's always going to be out even, yeah, until we get the neutrals. Yep, cool.
Subdue. 2 mana, set a minion attack and health to 1. So this card I actually think is pretty good. I didn't see it played on the reveal stream. I was trying to watch it. Comparing it to something like Dark Conviction, which is 2 mana, set something to a 3/3. That card is like kind of always playable because you could play it on turn 2 or whatever, or you could like play it for some burst damage, and you could also shrink like a really big minion if you needed to.
Mm-hmm.
But this card is just like, feels to me just like more hard removal. I think Shrivala would play it. Like, I think it's good enough to play in Shrivala. A lot of the times you play your equality and you're just trying to equality down their Mountain Giant and you spent 4 mana for it. This card just does it for 2. It's just cheap removal. I really like this card in Shrivala Paladin. Like, one thing that Shrivala Paladin struggles with is just having cards to dump from their hand. A lot of their stuff is just like draw cards, and their removal is usually AoE removal or their removal cantrips. But yeah, this card is just a way to just like, oh, play an 8/8, just whatever, basically kill it. I really like it. I think this is a 3 for me.
I agree. I think it's a solid 3. The effect's pretty powerful. Against stuff like Mage, you'll still have to kill it because they can like the Threat of Conjure still there, but oftentimes you do have something on the board that the Mage just doesn't trade into because they'd rather hit you in the head for 8. So like a token's gonna stick, a Novice or something like that, or even just like archering this is fine, or even late game if you have a True Silver equipped already or a Hammer of Wrath and the mana to play it with this. I think that the card's just good. Yeah, it's good against Edwin. Holy crap!
Another answer for Edwin.
And like a reasonable one too, not like equality and then hope you get like you live one more turn to play Consecration the turn after. Or I guess you can shrink ray too, but
it feels like this is their way of apologizing for nerfing equality so damn bad.
Or maybe they nerfed it because of this.
Maybe. Man, it's so funny that this card's a 3 and equality just literally was like the super version of this card at 2 mana. Yeah. Oh man, I miss 2 mana equality.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Okay. Ancestral Guardian. 4 mana, 4/2. Lifesteal Reborn. Not a necessarily aggressive card because Paladin wants... I mean, this card by its... Okay. 4 mana, 4/2 Reborn, which is basically comes back to life as a 4 mana, 4/1 after it dies the first time. Very low health. Easy to kill off. And then the second thing to get killed off is a ping. Sticky, which is good against... like control decks kind of, but I don't think this is an aggressive card you want to run.
Harvest Golem's a stickier minion than this guy.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It was stickier than a non-reborn minion, but not by much.
Yeah.
So you would kind of be running it for a defensive purpose because it has lifesteal, so you can maybe heal for 4 twice. Okay. So lifesteal will help with some of the previous cards we saw in Rusticon's Rumble, I think. It still won't make them playable, but we had cards in Paladin like Zandalari Templar. Yeah, they're not great. So there's a bit of synergy with that, but by itself, this card doesn't seem incredibly broken or crazy. Like I wouldn't run this in Shrivala Paladin right now, and I wouldn't run this in some sort of aggro Paladin we're trying to make, which means that you'd have to put it in a new deck, like some sort of control-y thing, which we don't currently have because Control Paladin isn't really on a crazy power level like some of the other decks we have. So this is probably just unplayable for me.
Yeah, I think it's unplayable.
It's cool though. I mean, it's nice having... This will also pop up sometimes if rogues are playing their 1 mana, get a random
reborn
this is
minion. Just another example of... Yeah, exactly. So many more reborn minions, like Witchy Lackey, and... That was the point you're making, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just randomly evolving into this guy is great. Like, it's... I mean, I think it's great. Like, it's pretty... I think it's above average statted. I mean, it's just a stat minion, right? Like, stat minions' role in Hearthstone is you try to evolve into them. You don't really... And they're arena cards. It's arena slash I hope I evolve into it. But other than that, yeah, not playable. Next card is Pharaoh's Blessing. 6 mana, give a minion +4/+4 Divine Shield and Taunt. So for 2 more mana, it's Blessing of Kings, but you also get the Divine Shield and Taunt. You get it all in the same card. I mean, I think this card's playable. Like, I don't think it's good, but if you have to play a Highlander Paladin deck, I think this card makes the cut. I don't know. This card might just be trash. Like,
I think it's. I would say it's playable, but maybe barely. Again, this doesn't really fit in. Could you play this in? No, you couldn't really play this in Shrivala.
Nah, it's
no. So I mean, if something becomes playable, like if another deck becomes viable, you might play this in it. But like, again, the card isn't bad. It just doesn't have a place right now.
Yeah, it's just very one-dimensional. Like Blessing of Kings, you can put into a Smork deck. It's 4 mana, deal 4 damage.
Yeah.
But this card, you don't put it into a Smork deck. It's too expensive. It's Paladins. That's the thing with like Paladin's identity right now. It's like, what is Paladin trying to do? Right now, it's a combo deck or a mech.
What about Mech Paladin? Actually, that's a good question.
This card in Mech Paladin, you do run Faceless Manipulator, but you can't play both in the same turn. So that's a little bit unfortunate.
You could taunt an egg on curve.
Oh. Interesting. Now when you say that, that actually sounds really good.
It's like Steed, right? Not quite as good, but if you're running stuff like Mechano Egg, it's similar sort of effect.
Steed with Egg was just
Steed was
so insane.
Yeah.
Steed was just so pushed. Like holy shit. It was like super sludge belt. 6 mana. 2 oh god. I just missed Steed. That card was so busted.
Steed was crazy, yeah.
2/6 taunt. So much hell. So much.
But okay, so even if we were gonna put this in Mech Paladin, it's kind of expensive to have 2 of these in there. So even then, maybe it's sort of like a one of, and even then you might not run it because you want to be more consistent with early game to try and get to the big mech state.
Yeah. Egg into Pharaoh's Blessing is probably the ceiling on this card.
What if you Prismatic Lens it, but then it needs to hit a cheap thing?
I mean, if you play these cards in tandem in Mech Paladin, but the payoff.
Oh.
You can put it on a 1/5, I guess. I don't know.
Immortal Prelate. Still kind of. I mean, we're really reaching here, but the application is there. I just don't think that's powerful enough.
Yeah, it's just not as good as Mortal Prelate, or it's not as good as Undertaker, I guess.
Okay.
You're gonna run Prelate.
I think it has some applications and it might be playable, but I think 2 is fair.
I'm gonna give it a 1 to
Okay.
balance your 2 out.
Seems fine. Micro Mummy. 2 mana, 1/2, and it's a mech with Reborn. At the end of your turn, give another random friendly minion +1 attack. So this works on other minions, period, not just other mechs. Weak stats, it is good in a deck where you might be going wide, but even then I don't know if you'd call it good per se. It's similar to Master Swordsmith, but it's a mech and it has to be hit twice to die, instead of Swordsmith, which you could kill once. Swordsmith wasn't even close to seeing play after beta, and this being a mech isn't really great because it's anti-synergistic with Kangors and doesn't do a lot by itself on board. So I struggle to see how this is playable right now.
Yeah, I think it's a 1.
Yeah, I think I agree there. Another card you could get off, you could curve in Rogue, the 1-drop that gives you a Reborn minion, and then into this, which is like, okay.
And then you have Snip Snap on it.
Yeah.
Boom.
Oh, that's gonna happen at some point.
Already tilted.
Yeah, but not really playable in Paladin for now.
Yeah. I wish this card was a neutral card.
As a
this
neutral,
card could have been playable in something at some point if it was neutral.
Maybe in Druid.
I just don't see how this is a Paladin card. Like why? Like what about? Like what is Paladin? Why is this?
Yeah, it is a little weird. I don't know.
It just looks like a neutral card to me. That's why I'm confused. Like I I don't know.
So I think in Paladin they tried to throw in a couple of reborns because that kind of makes sense with the redemption. So I understand why it's reborn, but like the minion itself doesn't make too much sense to me.
Had something like gave other. I know this is a stupid card, but give all your reborns +1/+1, like a payoff reborn. Would have been cooler than a shitty random 2-mana reborn card. Whatever. I don't know. I don't like this card.
That's fine.
I don't like the design of it, I guess. Sorry, whoever designed it. Why is it an epic? This card's... I don't get it.
So when you open it, you feel bad.
This literally... This card looks like a common to me. This looks like a neutral common, and it's a Paladin epic. That's why I'm so confused.
I think it's an interesting card. It's just not very playable. I think you're next, then?
Oh, yeah. Tip the scales. 8 mana. Summon 7 Murlocs from your deck. What? Why would you ever spend 8 mana and have Murlocs in your deck?
At the same
Unless
time.
You're playing anything can happen, and you just won the game. So maybe in Wild, when you just want to get all your Murlocs out, just get all your War Leaders and your old Murk-Eye, and I could see that. I could see this in Wild. In Wild, I would give this a 2. It's still 8 mana, which is...
Yeah.
That might just disqualify even in that combo deck. Standard, yeah, it's just a 1.
Faster Shrivala combo. The problem with that is, okay, so that means you have to be running Murlocs in your Shrivala deck, which is already feels bad, man, because you're taking out Cycle. And so if you want to take out Cycle, this has to be consistent enough and make up for that Cycle. And I don't think this does. Like, there's no way.
You know we're playing 30-card decks, people.
Yeah, and it's 7
How many
Murlocs.
Murlocs
That's...
do you think you're playing in your deck?
It maybe if they printed some defensive Murlocs, sure, but even then, like, they'd have to print a lot.
You'd have to have like 2 old Murk-Eyes, 2 War Leaders, 2 Bluegills.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta summon like charged minions to make this good.
So I don't think this is usable in Shrivala or Cycle decks, which means that it has to be in some sort of tempo and mid-range. And I don't think we're running Murlocs in tempo and mid-range, because if they were good enough, we'd be running them already, which means this had to like literally tip the scales and make that deck incredibly powerful just because of this, which I don't think it does. And even if you Prismatic Lens into it, you're spending 4 mana on turn 4 in a tempo deck, not doing anything, which is kind of a big deal. And sometimes you hit the tip of scales. And if you hit the tip of scales, the Murlocs you summon still aren't going to be like instantly win the game. Because if you're... Okay, let's say you're facing Rogue. The Rogue's already going to be on board. If you spend 4 mana not doing anything, the Rogue's going to, guess what? Put more stuff on the board. And then even if you get this off of Lens, the Rogue will be in a position to clear some stuff off, so it won't be that big of a deal. Against Warrior, Brawl, Warpath, against Mage, Nova, they can do it once or twice, sure, but not being aggressive against them gives them time to get to the point where they can just make giants, and then these Murlocs don't matter. So I don't think this is playable.
I agree. Easy.
Making Mummies, the Paladin quest. So the quest is play 5 reborn minions, and the reward is Emperor Wraps. So Emperor Wraps changes your hero power, or it is the new hero power, which is summon a 2/2 copy of a friendly minion. So if you copy a reborn minion or a death rattled minion, the copy will also have reborn or death rattle or divine shield or lifesteal or whatever you want on it, but it'll be a 2/2. I think the effect is powerful, but I don't think the effect is powerful enough to just win you games. And playing 5 reborn minions, if we look at the pool of reborn minions, some are not that great. And in fact, most of them are not that great. I think maybe we should just type in reborn just to get a sense of what we're talking about here. So the 2 Paladin ones we've talked about aren't that great. And I don't think... Maybe you run Ancestral Guardian because it's slightly defensive, sure. But Micro Mummy, like running this just to have a reborn minion feels kind of bad. Candle Taker might be okay. This is not good. This is a little slow. This might be playable, actually.
What card?
Oh, sorry. Ancestral Guardian might be playable. Candle Taker might be playable. Temple Berserker probably not in this deck because it doesn't do enough. Wrapped Golem is a little slow. The effect isn't awful, but it's a little slow. Like, actually, it's a lot slow. Let me change that. Kartet Defender you could run because it is decently defensive and it can heal you. So we're at like 3 playable individual minions, which means 6 in total, and the quest is to play 6, right? So that's...
I think was it 6?
Oh, it's 5, it's 5.
Okay.
Pharaoh Cat you can't run. Bone Wraith, okay, this could be playable, it's a little defensive. You don't want to... Colossus the Moon is too slow, that's not Paladin. Generous Mummy, probably not. Wasteland Assassin, probably not, kind of slow. Mermy you could definitely run, and then that's about it. But a lot of these reborn minions by themselves aren't that great, and even if you do use the hero power after the quest completion on them, it'll make them better, but not like game win. It's not broken, basically. It's almost fair, I'd say, and we're not really playing decks that are almost fair right now. We're playing upwards of fair decks.
Yeah, that's the problem for me, is even if you complete the quest, it's still just not worth using the hero power on your reborn minions. So
I think
there is requires you to play bad cards, and the payoff is not that good either.
I think it's interesting, and I'd like to try to make it work. I just don't think it will work right now. Maybe with better reborn cards. Like, there's still tools for control. It's just that the payoff for playing this control deck isn't crazy. It's probably one for me.
Yep, definite one. Sir Finley of the Sands, riding a Scorpion. 2-mana, 2/3. Battlecry for deck has no duplicates. Discover an upgraded hero power. I remember some people were calling this Keliseth on Twitter. I can kind of see the comparison. Just a powerful 2-drop that is almost always good whenever you draw it. And also requires your deck to be built in a unique way. I don't think this card's quite on the power level of Keliseth. Keliseth was... Oh boy. Keliseth was very frustrating. I hate that card so much. This card is definitely not anywhere close. It's not even half as good as Keliseth. But I don't think this card's unplayable either. Upgraded hero power is still like pretty powerful. Getting a free life tap is actually like pretty sick. Getting the summon 2 1/1s is good. 4 armor is decent. If you're playing a Highlander Paladin deck, your deck is probably going to try and win off value. You could also have the Shirvala combo in your Highlander Paladin deck. I mean, all you have to do is play Baleful Banker, Shirvala, and
Holy Wrath?
Holy Wrath, yeah.
True.
And you could just run more card draw, whatever, to make your deck more consistent. So I feel like Paladin has the win condition. You know, it could also play Undertaker with Immortal Prelate, like Baleful Banker. It just needs to like have an extra copy of something to play on Silence, for example. So Paladin has like the win condition. Paladin actually got a really good removal spell in Subdue. It feels like Paladin actually has a lot of like decent cards, but the payoff isn't really there. And I feel like Sir Finley could potentially be that payoff. But the biggest problem for me is that you discover it from a pool of only 3, and the variability on that is extremely high. If I could pick an upgraded hero power, if I could just always say I always want life tap in this matchup, or I always want armor up in this matchup, but because it's so important that you draw this like early on, and it's important that you have to get the right hero power, because that's going to make a huge difference, right? Like whatever hero power you get from this is going to be huge.
Yep.
I just the lack of consistency don't make me not want to give it like too good of ratings. But I think it's definitely not unplayable.
Agreed.
I'm kind of torn between a 2 or a 3 right now. Kind of could go either way.
I didn't think about putting in something like a Shirvala combo into this kind of deck. I suppose you definitely could. With that, I think we would have to kind of see how it plays out. I think if you don't include the Shirvala combo and just have like a Highlander deck, whether it be like Tempo or Control-y, I would make that a 2. With Shirvala, if it was playable, I'm still not sure there's enough cycle to get to the same level of consistency as current Shirvala Paladin, which means that it would have to be like pretty crazy. So I still think it's just a 2 for me, even if you were to run Shirvala in the deck.
The interesting thing about Highlander Paladin, it can fill many roles. Like you don't have to play Shirvala. You could also play one of Elysiana if you wanted to in your Shirvala deck, and just have like that alternate win condition if you really wanted it. That's the part that interests me about Highlander Paladin, is that, especially from like a specialist standpoint, there's so many like interesting ways that you can build Paladin, and there's many different avenues of different win conditions. And in a format like Specialist, you can have specific decks tailored to like what you want your like. For example, against Warrior, you just don't have Shrivala combo. You have Elysiana, for example, or you know, etc. Like if you wanted to, obviously against Mage, you'd want Shrivala combo or something like that, and you wouldn't need the Elysiana. But that's the part that appeals to me about Paladin, is that the win conditions are there, and I think that's the most important thing. Is that I think Paladin can win. It's just a question of is everything else in the deck good enough? Like, does it have enough critical mass of one-ofs to make the deck consistent? I feel like it's not quite there. But I don't know.
It could be with some more support, I guess.
I'm just gonna give it a 3. I just like I like Paladin a lot. I think this card is good enough to make me excited to build Highlander Paladin. I don't necessarily think it's going to be an excellent deck, but yeah, I don't know. I'm going to give it a 3.
Sure. Also, Specialist is still being used for the Soul Master Tour, so that's kind of why we're touching on Specialist every now and then, because it's still a relevant competitive format, at least for now.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Salahed's Pride. 3 mana, 3/1. It's a beast. Death Rattle, draw 2 1 health minions from your deck. So, more draw stuff. It can help you draw the next 2 cards. Whether or not you're running those is a separate question. It can still help you draw Novice, Blood Mage, so it can still help you draw even more draw cards. I guess the question is, would you run this over something like Crystology, or would you add extra stuff in to have more things you can cycle off of? And I think you would not run this over Crystology, so you would have to put other things in your deck that you want to cycle to, or cycle with rather, or 2. I guess you don't have to run minions that draw. You can run minions that are playable, but I don't think there's that many 1 health minions that are impactful.
Yeah, kind of flipping through. Whoa, should not have done that. I'm kind of flipping through some of the 1 health minion cards, and kind of feel like Twilight Drake is one of the better ones that you can get.
Okay. I'll add a star to the Finley. Sorry, guys. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think it's like that good. I just don't think there are enough 1-drops, and I think like the overlap with Crystology, it takes a little bit too much away from it for me to like it. Like with Crystology, I feel like there's not enough good 1-attack minions. And with this, I definitely don't want to play this over Crystology, because Crystology is more efficient.
Right.
But okay. Yeah, I don't want to play this over Crystology, but playing it together, I just feel like it would take too much away from the pool of minions. This card potentially playable in Highlander Paladin.
Agreed.
It's just like kind of a draw spell. Actually, yeah, for sure playable in Highlander Paladin. You only can play 1 Crystology, so. And you already want to play cards like Novice Engineer and Blood Mage Thalnos, and yeah, so I feel like maybe even Twilight Drake and Mountain Giant as well, since there seems to be a lot of cheap ways to draw 2 cards in Paladin. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to give it a 2. I don't think it's unplayable.
I agree. I think there might be some uses for it.
All right, so second to last card is Sandwasp Queen. 2 mana, 3/1, add 2 2/1s to your hand. So this card, yeah, kind of funny, actually makes Mountain Giant Twilight Drake a little bit better. I've never thought about running Mountain Giant and Twilight Drake in Paladin before, but there's actually a lot of ways to draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
You know, just this card, Solids, and Crystology, Prismatic Lens. Actually, I mean, Mountain Giant just might be good at this point. Paladin's kind of interesting to think about it like that. And the reason why I'm like kind of like a little bit more hype on Paladin is because it's one of the few decks that can beat Mage. Just because they have Shrink Ray, which is just completely bonkers against them. Cards like Timeout that just like literally just don't let the Mage do what they want to do for a turn. And their win condition is usually just Shrivala. So, and Mage can't really interact with that too well. I mean, it can get Hakar sometimes. It does have outs. You know, they do have like Antonius and Alexstrasza, but it feels like if you're going to try and beat Mage, Paladin is one of the better ways to go. So, I don't know. That's why I'm kind of like a little bit more optimistic on some of these cards. Yeah, so I think this card's honestly a 2. Just another way to increase your hand size while also being something you can draw off Salet's Pride. Yeah, Hand Paladin might be a thing. I don't know.
Sand Wasp is also the thing it generates is also 1 mana 2/1, which by itself isn't awful.
Yeah, like I think all these cards you would definitely run Twilight Drake and Mountain Giant, which are obviously great cards that have been played since the beginning of Hearthstone. So
2 for me. Definitely not
Yeah,
unplayable, but again, we'd have to kind of build that and kind of see where the deck takes us. This also,
yeah, I mean,
it's
the card itself, 2 mana 3/1 get 2/2/1s isn't like. I assume they're 1 cost, right?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, yeah. All right, just making sure. I was like, oh god, if they're two costs, this card's not playable.
Oh, so I rated it too. You okay? Cool. Brazen Zealot, 1 mana 2/1. Whenever you summon a minion, gain +1 attack. I think you would only really run this in a sort of aggressive deck, and I don't think the tools for an aggressive deck really exist right now.
Yeah.
The cards, yeah, it's like not awful against cards, heroes, classes that don't have pings.
Sure. Yeah, I mean against classes that don't have pings, this card turn 1 is actually kind of serious. That something that needs to be dealt with almost immediately. But that's just not.
I mean, Warrior has 1-drops, mages can ping, druids flood the board or can hero power, rogues have the dagger. There's not that many.
Every deck has a way to deal 1 damage for a somewhat cheap amount. So yeah, this card's just a 1.
I agree. Paladin average 1.6. Technically, it's better than mage.
Druid's still the best. Druid had a lot of 2s.
Yeah, it did. That's interesting.
Sandhoof Waterbearer. 5 mana 5/5. At the end of your turn, restore 5 health to a damage-friendly character. Remember Kibler on stream compare this card to Ragnaros?
The Light Lord, yeah.
Yeah, the Light Lord. Yeah, I definitely see the comparison. It's like extremely similar. This card seems good, but what is Priest? I mean, the problem for me is like this card doesn't replace itself, and like, are you just playing this 5 mana? Like, would you play 5 mana 5/5 heal 5 and Priest?
By itself, no.
Control?
There's a lot of stuff that's, again, so you didn't watch the reveal stream, right?
I watched the Priest. I watched like the first match.
Okay, so I don't think they showed that much where this would actually work, but on any minion that gets reborn, this is good. Healing yourself against aggro, this is good because it heals you and it puts something on the board that kind of needs to die. It works with like injured Blade Master. I mean, obviously this is over multiple turns. It's not going to be like, you know, the combo is, you know, turn 8 Blade Master, Water Bearer, but like Blade Master, the 2 mana taunt guy that deals 3 damage to itself, the injured something or other. There are
2 mana, 2
cases where it works, and if Priest is starting to fight for board, then maybe this is.
It's just not That's not Priest strengths to me is my problem. Like,
that's true.
I mean, Priest has like Northshire, Extra Arms, Acolyte, like combo finishes style of stuff. This doesn't really like that to me is like what Priest wants to do. It wants to like be playing Circle of Healing with Northshire Cleric, drawing a bunch of cards. It wants to be playing Mass Hysteria for clearing. You know, like maybe Grave Horde, Nomi stuff. But like this is just sort of like a mid-range card. If this card was a warrior card, perfect. Like gain 5 armor or whatever. It'd be broken, right? Because this is exactly what warrior wants. But like I just feel like this isn't what Priest wants, despite being like this card is really good. Shield Bearer was good when like warrior was around. And it was just 6 mana 5/5 gain 5 armor. This is like pretty similar. Armor is obviously superior to health, but this is something that happens every single turn. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just would Priest ever play Shield Bearer? Like, I don't think so. Like, I just don't think Shield Bearer would ever be good in Priest.
I think it's a strong card, but it's difficult to fit in. Like,
I just can't see this card being playable. This is my. I like. It's such a good card too, but I just can't.
I think it would be playable with the quest. I don't think it would be great, and I don't think the quest is going to be the absolute nuts. But I think the quest might actually be playable.
The quest is definitely playable.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt. It's not unplayable, for sure. Which means it's playable.
Which means, I think because of that, this might be playable as well.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, this card's playable.
It wouldn't be like the first, second, third, fourth, etc. card you put in your deck, but when the card pool is limited, you might throw this in as like a 25th, 26th, etc.
Yeah. All right. So it's definitely not a 1. It's definitely at least a 2. Is it a 3 though?
I think it's like a 2 point something.
I'm gonna give it a 2.
Okay.
I am just not very hype on this card.
I'm gonna give it a 3. I think the effect is powerful enough that it might just end up seeing play. Maybe not outside of Quest Priest, but I think the effect is powerful enough that people are just gonna run it.
It's like good against Rogue, for sure. I guess like every deck has to deal with it. That's a good point. You can't just leave this card in play. Alright, fine, I'll give it a 3. It's actually really annoying, right? I'm just actually kind of picturing my opponent playing this card, and I'm just like, well, they got the 5 health already, and I gotta kill it or they're gonna get it again. So that's kind of annoying. Alright, yeah, it's definitely 3.
Holy Ripple. 2 mana pre-spell. Deal 1 damage to all enemies. Restore 1 health to all friendly characters. So I think the way Kibler described this was it's half a Holy Nova, but for 2 mana. Seems good. It's almost like Spirit Lash, but not quite. Doesn't deal damage to your side of the board in the sense that it's like a 1 damage AoE. But okay, so let's start off with
Comparing
saying
this to Spirit Lash is not fair.
Okay,
Spirit Lash is insane.
Let's say it's half a Holy Nova then.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful priest tools is like the Pyro Acolyte Circle sort of combo with draw and spells. And this kind of fits with that. It's not as cheap as Circle, obviously, but it's still something that could be used with that shell. So because of that, I definitely think it can see play. But I don't think by itself it's like the nuts or anything.
I think this card's a staple.
Okay.
In Wild Pyro, Acolyte, Northshire decks. Which, to my opinion, is the superior way to play Priest, because that's like the broken draws, right? Is when they circle and like heal a bunch. To me, this is a Wild Pyro. Like it's a Wild Pyro activation 1 time, plus a mini like Divine Hymn. I know it's nowhere near like 6 health or whatever, but like when you play Divine Hymn, you usually use it for the sometimes you use it for the full heal effect, but a lot of times you use it for like the heal my side of the board, draw cards off Northshire, clear your side of the board effect. And so it's kind of like a mini. It's like kind of a mini Divine Hymn, and also like a single Wild Pyro activator, but all in 1 card. And I feel like that's good enough. Like, in order to like start to get the gears grinding, you know, with like Acolyte and Northshire Cleric, you need like a Wild Pyro, and you only get to run 2 Wild Pyro effects.
True.
So I really like this card because it just gives you another Wild Pyro effect without you know, you're basically not allowed to play 3 Wild Pyros, but you can play up to 4 Wild Pyros now. Basically, it's nowhere near as good as Wild Pyro, but sometimes you just need that effect, and it's good with Wild Pyro too.
Yeah.
Like when you draw both in tandem, like it just helps you clear the board easier. So I give this a 3.
I think I'm kind of somewhere between 2 and 3.
That's fair. I mean, I don't think this card by itself is super powerful, but I just like it so much because it does exactly what Priest wants to do.
Okay.
Which is Northshire Cleric plus Circle and Wild Pyro and stuff.
Okay.
This be a 4 if it was a staple. Oh, it would be a 4 if this card was like good by itself, but it's not. Like, this card sucks by itself. Like, if you don't have Wild Pyro and if you don't have all those cards I mentioned in your deck, you would never play this card. This card would just suck, right? It'd just be Whirlwind with like a very, very tiny upside, like 1 health. Who cares? But it's literally specifically in the current Priest deck. If this card was just like, what I mean, I guess staple wasn't the right word. It's a staple in the Northshire Cleric, Wild Pyro, Acolyte decks. It's not a staple in like, let's say back then, if you didn't have Spirit Lash and you had to play this thing in Clone Priest, you wouldn't be happy. You would be devastated. It would like suck. Like, this card's just nowhere near as powerful, for example. And it might not be a fair comparison because you had like a lot of full heals with Valen and stuff, but I don't know. My point is, this card's not good in every type of Priest deck. It's very good in a certain type of Priest deck, though.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's fair.
I'll give it a 3, not a 4. Penance, 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a minion lifesteal. which is pretty good. It's like kind of reminds me of Frostbolt and Dark Bomb. They don't go face, but you get the lifesteal, and healing is kind of important. I feel like especially if Priest wants to play like this with the hero power, like maybe a more Zoo type. I think healing your face becomes really important because when you're playing a deck full of minions and you're in a matchup like Rogue, for example, like you're letting them hit your face a bunch, and you're like trying to trade and trying to fight for board. But usually, what ends up happening in those types of situations is you start getting in the face for a bunch. And I feel like a card like Penance, killing like a Blink Fox or a Hinge Clan Burglar and gaining health back, that's really freaking good. Like that's a lot of stuff for just one card.
Yep.
So yeah, I give this card. I think, I don't know. It's only to a minion. It's really good in the Rogue matchup.
It'd be insane if this could go face.
Yeah, if this was against Warrior, I guess this card's kind of poopy. Like, it's inferior to Shadow Word Pain. It lines up against Dynomatic worse and against Eternium Rover worse. If you're playing against a mage deck, the healing isn't as relevant. The killing effect is the relevant part.
Kill a Sork.
Yeah. Okay.
Not
I'm
much
dialing
else.
back a little bit. I think I want to give it a 2. I think when it's in the matchups it's good in, like against like Mech Hunter or just any aggro deck, really.
Sure.
This card's like really strong. But it's just kind of like Shadow Word Pain. Like, do you give Shadow Word Pain a 3 or do you give it a 2? You know, like, I don't know. I think I give this a 2.
I think that's fair. Next up, activate the obelisk. Quest. Restore 15 health. Reward the obelisk's eye. Now, restore means that you actually have to... Some healing has to have been done. You can't just heal yourself when you're on 30, because that doesn't count as restoring. Something has to be damaged, and you have to heal for up to, additively up to 15. And the hero power is restore 3 health. Also, if you target a minion with this, give it +3/+3. So the upgraded hero power is
Very nice.
pretty good.
Yeah, very nice.
2 mana +3/+3 to minions, and a lot of the minions Priest normally runs are like defensively statted, so giving them plus the attack and extra health on top of that is just... I mean, just look at the minions in the set, right? Okay, these are bad examples. High Priest Amit, sure, but the other ones are kind of not as defensively statted. I mean, I think this is... Okay, first of all, I think it's playable. I think it might be a 3, but I'd have to see like how you would build this, because I don't
have to build it in a Zoo deck. I feel
yeah, you have to make it like aggressive, right? So like you don't top out super late gaming. You just have good minions that you play.
Yeah, it's kind of the issue for me is that this card feels like it forces you to play the injured cards, like the 2-drop and Injured Blade Master. Because if you're playing against Warrior or Mage and you play Quest, they're just not going to hit your face.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're just, I'm just not going to let you complete your quest. I'm just going to wait till I amass my resources and kill you in a few turns or whatever. Like, that's what those decks try to do. Yeah, I mean, obviously against, like, other matchups, you're just naturally getting hit in the face, so it's not really a big deal. But the fact that your opponent can manipulate when they damage you makes me not like this card as much. Which means that, yeah, if you want to make this card work, you have to run the injured cards. And then the question is, how good are the injured cards? The injured cards are, I think, extremely bad. Because on the surface, Injured Blade Master is a 3 mana 4/3. The other injured cards are 2 mana 2/3. And those, like that's just, if you include it on your deck, that is just so, like, those are fine to evolve into sometimes, but including it in your deck and drawing them is horrendous, in my opinion.
Would you run Crystallizer in this?
See, that's the thing. You're playing Crystallizer in a Priest deck. That's just...
And on top of that, you heal for the 5 and that's it, right? And then you have armor and it still doesn't really work after that.
I think it might... You could play this with... I guess if you have like Wild Pyro and Cleric, you don't need to run the injured stuff. Like, the thing with like all the quests is at least you get to play that 2-drop that cantrips. I think it's pretty huge. The 2-drop, the 2/3 that Whenever if you control a quest, you draw a card.
Oh yeah. The quest. No, it's not questing adventure. It's something adventure. Sure.
So I feel like that card alone makes a lot of quests like a little bit better, because 1/10 of your deck is already complete. I don't know. It just makes it kind of easier to build and synergistic. I don't know, but like this card,
I think I might go down to 2 after what you said. I didn't consider that. Yeah, of course they can just not hit you if they're afraid of you completing the quest.
Yeah, they let you complete the quest when it's inconvenient for you.
You can heal. You can heal them.
Oh, true. Oh, true.
But that's still kind of like.
That's actually pretty legit. That's actually extremely legit. Healing them is actually that's actually.
But I mean,
makes the zoo type strategy a lot more appealing now, because maybe you don't have to run the injured cards. You can just play like the quote unquote good minions like Twilight Drake and Northshire Cleric and all that, and just heal their face, like you said.
But do you want to spend 2 mana to restore 2? You'd have to hero power 7 times.
Yeah.
So you would still need to run like circle-y stuff. You could run regenerate, but I mean, Divine Him you could run, but like
the payoff is really good though.
Yeah.
Like I don't personally see how this card's gonna work right now, but I also haven't played any of the new cards yet. And I think the payoff's good enough. I'm just gonna YOLO give it a 3. Because the payoff's there. Like, if you find an efficient way to make this work without making your deck total crap, then this card's a 3. If you can complete that. If you complete the quest of creating a deck with this quest. But yeah, I personally don't see it right now. But I feel like I don't know.
So the thing is, even if you're running like tempo-y stuff to try and make this work, the tempo-y stuff themselves is still just like pressure, which is kind of okay. It just will be difficult against stuff like Warrior when they'll kill your stuff.
You need
and
like
then
high health stuff.
Yeah.
Extra arms is really, really good. Like extra arms it's basically Blessing of Kings, but you get to like play it on turn 2, and like it generates another card, which is good for, I don't know, hand size issues if you want to like play Mountain Giant or Twilight Drake in your deck. Probably not Mountain Giant and Priest. Maybe Twilight Drake. Yeah, I don't know. I think this card has got potential.
Before we finish writing this, do you want to look at the card right to the right of that real quick?
Oh, sure. The Wretched Reclaimer?
Yeah.
Destroy a friendly minion, then return to life with full health. So that works with Activator of the Obelisk. Yeah. So that.
Oh, no. Hold on, it doesn't though. It doesn't say restore it. Sorry. Yeah, someone in chat baited me. I thought this was restore, but no.
Baited.
Like, you could still run this in this type of deck because it's still tempo-y, but it doesn't actually progress the quest. Okay, I think I'm at like a 2.5. I think eventually
I'll
this
give it a
might
3
be.
if you want to give it a 2.
Okay, sure.
Out.
That works for me.
What are you gonna say?
Again, like, there's powerful cards that we have with Priest and the package we're talking about, Circle and stuff like that have been around in Priest forever, when Priest has been played anyways. And even if you do get a good Circle off, let's say you have Blademaster Circle, and let's say you even have the 2-drop, it lives, and then you go Blademaster Circle. You've now restored 7 health, which is great, but you've used like 3 cards to do that, and like, where's the other 8 coming from? And that's like with a very, very specific 2 into 3 with the Circle in Hand quest, or with the Circle in Hand condition. So like, I don't think it's
be better in a control deck then.
That's what I'm thinking, because you're not going to get this online that quickly in a super tempo deck. So you're going to need some sort of value to get through this, or like to get through the game, because you're not. I don't think you're rarely going to be able to just smoke them down before the quest is complete. I mean, maybe sometimes you do if you have like a pretty decent curve.
If you're playing control deck, it turns the awkward situation of do you hit your opponent for 2 when they have the Priest quest active into an advantage for the control deck.
Yeah.
Now if they don't get hit for 2, they don't have to spend the mana to heal. They can do something if they want to. So that aspect of it starts as a disadvantage for an aggro deck, turns into an advantage for a deck that doesn't care when they complete the quest.
I think I'm going to change it to 3. I think this actually can be playable. And like, not just...
Card just seems good.
Yeah.
Might even be a 4. Now that we're climbing the rank ratings for this card, I could. I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 4. Fuck it.
Okay, sure. I'll stick with 3.
I haven't given anything a 4 yet, have I?
What? No.
No. I think this is the best card that we've gone over so far, so that's why I want to give it a 4.
Okay. I don't think it's quite that crazy, but I do agree that it's good.
I know. I'm just so crazy. I'm just kidding.
Okay, you got the next one?
Yeah. Wretched Reclaimer. 3 mana, 3/3, battlecry, destroy a friendly minion, then return it to life with full health. So good with the injured cards. Good with Death Rattle.
If I think they said if you use this with Reborn Minion, it brings back. So first of all, the Reborn triggers, but it brings back the initial Reborn section of the minion as well. So if you play this on the first half of Reborn Minion, you get that same first half of the Reborn Minion plus the second half that got destroyed. Do you know what I mean? So if you play this on an initially Reborn Minion, like the vanilla Reborn Minion, you'll end up with 3 things on board. One will have Reborn, one will not have Reborn, and then this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Any good Reborns, though? What good minions are there with Reborn?
Psychopomp. It doesn't have Reborn, but it gives something Reborn. Actually, will that work?
Should work.
I think it should work.
I think the problem that I'm seeing with Reborn is I don't really think a lot of these Reborn cards are that good. We haven't gotten to the neutrals yet, but
yeah,
none of them really impressed me. I mean, a couple of taunts are fine, maybe.
Oh, I think chat's saying it's not going to work on the minion that's given Reborn. It has to have Reborn naturally for it to have that effect.
Yeah, it'll come back
without
Reborn.
This is more of a combo card. Like, if you curve 2 into 3, sure. And if you have, like, the injured thing on 2. And I guess you can curve Blade Master into this as well. But we're getting... I don't think it's reasonable to assume that you can always do this on curve, because it's not going to work a lot of the time against some of the meta decks. So we're getting to the point where, okay, are we like saving this to combo it? Like, are we doing turn 5 injured plus this, or turn 6 Blade Master plus this? And then at that point, it's not that crazy because you're not going super tempo-y. It's just a bit slower and you're getting good stats off of it. I think it's playable, but I don't think it's great. Just
it's like thinking you could do this with Leroy for extra 6 damage.
Sure.
I don't know.
Where's the other 18 coming from?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff.
Okay.
Like, this card kind of reminds me of Cube. That's why I was like thinking, like, what stuff did I want to cube again? Like, what death rattles?
Sylvanas.
I mean, instead of getting two minions, you just get 1 back, which is obviously not cube, because that's like a pretty important distinction of cube.
Right.
But like just the immediacy of the like you can rebuy charge minions, you can rebuy, I guess, rush minions.
Sure.
Zilliax. I just don't think this is a card you want to include in your deck, though. Like, it just doesn't seem like a card I'd want to include. I'm going to give it a 1.
I'll give it a 2. I think it can eventually find a home, but I don't think it's by any means like super great right now. Embalming Ritual. 1 mana, give a minion Reborn. Can you give a minion double Reborn?
I don't think so. I think I remember reading they don't stack.
For 1 mana, this effect is powerful, right? Is it though? Because it comes back as an X1. If you hit this on like a Death Rattle, it's pretty decent, right?
What Death Rattle?
I don't know. Any Death Rattle? Because then the Death Rattle goes like the initial... it's like not quite, but it does a similar thing to Play Dead where you get the Death Rattle twice, but not really.
Reborn doesn't count as Death Rattle, right?
No.
It's just a completely separate thing.
It's a completely separate thing.
Okay.
But if you have a Death Rattle minion that you reborn, the Death Rattle goes off, it resurrects, and it still has the Death Rattle.
I mean, if you could play this with your Ancestral Spirit, and I don't know. Yeah, it's just
test subject.
Not good. Oh. Wait a minute. Test subject. I go test subject.
It gives you value. This is a value generator.
Well, does it actually give you value?
With
It just
Vivid
gives you-
Nightmare.
Wait, the test subject that you were born doesn't have anything on it, does
No,
it?
no. But I mean, you could generate more embalming rituals with Vivid Nightmare. So like against the control deck, you could print copies of this spell in your hand basically, but it would just be kind of convoluted, and you'd need other stuff to play it on as well. I don't think that's necessarily good. I just think it's something worth noting that there are applications with test subject, but you would have to Vivid Nightmare it as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't. This card seems like a 1.
Okay.
Grand Mummy. Huh. Funny. 2 mana 1/2. Reborn. Death Rattle. Give a friendly minion +1/+1. It's a pretty premium 2-drop to Witchy Lackey into. Other than that, you could also get this off Unexpected Results as well.
Sorry to interrupt. What about Embalming Ritual on Zarek?
Zarek. 6 mana 5/5. If he was enchanted, or if he was targeted, you resummon him when he dies. So you reborn. No.
Okay. Let's continue with Grand Mummy then. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. This card also seems pretty bad to me. Just give it. I don't know.
I don't think it's
just so bad.
What it's trying to give you is like more stuff on board, but it's a 1/2, so you need other minions with it, and Priest isn't really good at flooding. I don't know.
So bad.
I don't feel like it's something you'd really want to put in your deck.
So bad.
Okay, what about Leroy, Embalming Ritual, Wretched Reclaimer? Now we're up to 18 damage. If you throw in a second, throw in a second Embalming Ritual, you're up to 24.
All right, let's end the stream. Nobody heard that.
You could Vivid Nightmare it too.
We got to end the stream.
I don't think it's playable.
Nobody can know about this combo.
It's okay.
Honestly, that's not that bad.
It's not awful, but I mean, there's not like super aggressive priest decks that can be made.
Oh wait,
just
you
yet.
can't use Embalming Ritual twice. Yeah, thank you. Kilogram hours.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Okay, well, way less excited. That second Embalming Ritual was like, whoa.
The second one pushed you over the edge.
It really did. The second one's like, it's not that bad of a combo.
You could go Leroy, Embalming Ritual, Vivid Nightmare, and then Coin Auchenai Phantasm Circle.
Each time you're using coin with your 10 mana combo. Like,
Right. Let's move on then. High Priest Amit. 4 mana 2/7. Whenever you summon a minion, set its health equal to this minion's. And summoning includes any minion that basically pops up on your side of the board, not just stuff that's played from your hand. So like minions that get resurrected from Reborn, or from Death Rattle effects, or like your opponent playing Leroy and it's summoning 2 whelps on your side of the field, the whelps will become 2/7s, or however much health Amit has at the time. If it's damaged, it'll be reduced, obviously. You can do some cool stuff with this. Boar, Stuntus Boar plus this, plus Divine Spirit, plus Shield. The problem is you don't have Shadow Visions, so it's like you need both Divine Spirits and this, and the Boar, and a Shield, and an Inner Fire, or a Topsy. So it doesn't really feel consistent.
yeah. This card's great, but it doesn't really lead to making a build-around deck. Like, you can't really build around this card just because you only play 1 copy, and there's like no way to like tutor for other combo pieces, like you said. But I think the card by itself is very good.
Even if you're not comboing stuff, it's just like, it seems good.
Yeah, it's just a good card. I would give it a 3.
Agreed.
Psychopomp?
Yeah.
Psychopomp. 4 mana 3/1. What a weird name. Weird name. Psychopomp.
Yeah, just kind of weird.
4 mana 3/1 battle cry. Summon a random friendly minion that died this game. Give it reborn. Random. So comparing to Eternal Servitude, nowhere near as good. Obviously, it's random. So yeah, the problem for me with this card is I just feel like reviving Acolyte, reviving Wild Pyro, reviving Northshire Cleric, not very strong. And if you're not playing those cards in your priest deck and you're playing like the injured cards, which is I guess what you would want to do this with, it's like it's good with jank. There's a lot of cards that are like good with jank, but you still have jank in your deck. So I don't like cards that are good with jank. I just don't think this card's good. I
think it's playable, but not good.
I don't even know if it's playable. I'm gonna be really harsh and give it a 1.
All right, I'm gonna stick on a 2. Plague of Death, 9 mana, spell, silence, and destroy all minions. So this is just complete board wipe. Like everything is gone. No death rattles, no reborn. It's just a complete board. It's like a better Nether, except it's 1 mana more expensive and it's a priest.
Yeah.
My issue with this is that it's 9 mana, and I don't think priest's problem is that. I lost my train of thought. Card's good. It'll help it deal with stuff like Mage with Conj and stuff. Like Hysteria is one way to deal with it. Plague of Death is another. The thing is, this doesn't give you a way to win. It just gives you another way to not die. And if we're talking
strategy around not dying, Warrior did that.
Yeah, fair. But I feel like Warrior has some better tools because the Warrior can still do stuff.
I mean, this is kind of interesting when you put it in the context of the control quest priest deck we were talking about earlier. I mean, if you're just trying to build a priest deck, maybe you're not running like all the Northshire extra arms type stuff, and you just want to run like control. I think this card's going to be really important. Like it's an auto 2 of include. The problem for me is I just don't see how priest is winning. Like it doesn't have Doctor Boom, it has the quest, but the quest just doesn't like. You can't just like win the game off the quest, right? You have to like somehow build some sort of synergy with your quest to make it really good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this card's just not really going to be able to go well with that, I think. So, I mean, I'm going to give it, I guess for like the current metagame,
like it's, for me, it's a 2.5 because like...
Really? Wow. Okay.
It doesn't fit in any priest decks, primarily because priest doesn't exist. And even in the priest decks that do exist, you're not going to run this in like Nomi because this is too expensive. So like there are people running Resurrect Priest, and maybe this helps with that. The problem is Resurrect Priest isn't that broken, and you still have to get to turn 9. So like I want to say that maybe this does fit into the control quest deck we're talking about.
I don't know. The control quest deck just doesn't seem like
a good way to go.
Man, I kind of want to revise my quest score to a 3 now.
Okay.
Now that I was thinking about it,
I think this card is like insanely good. It's just it doesn't fit anywhere, and the rest of what priest does doesn't really allow it to use this card in a deck.
Yeah.
So with the meta, I don't think it's playable, but I don't want to give this card a 1 because the card is good.
The card is a better Nether. And is the question, is Twisting Nether a 1 right now, or is it a 2? I mean, Twisting Nether technically isn't played at all. It's nowhere close to being played.
So maybe it is a 1 then. If we're weighting it based on the meta.
I think that's the correct way to go at this point.
Then I'll give it a 1.
Okay.
You first?
Sure. Clever Disguise, 2 mana, add 2 random spells from another class to your hand. Ugh. I mean, at least there's spells, so you can't get like random trash minions or whatever, like you can off Blink Fox. I mean, I like the fact that you can get spells. They're from other classes, which help enable, I guess, stuff like the rogue quest. But no, this card is just not good. Not gonna include it in your deck. It's just a 1.
Let's rate the quest first.
Sure.
People in chat are raising a good point. A lot of the cards they're including are like quest build arounds, so maybe we should do the quest first just to kind of rate the cards not by themselves, but also like with what their purpose is. Because in a vacuum, I kind of agree, but maybe it's a bit better with the quest. So Bazaar Burglary, Add 4 cards from other classes to your hand, and it has to be other classes, so it can't be rogue. And the reward is Ancient Blades. And that hero power changes your dagger into equip a 3/2 blade with immune while attacking. From how the game's played out on stream, it didn't seem crazy nutty, but it seemed like okay in a sort of tempo rogue where you're already kind of burgling value. But I feel like this isn't what you want to run in current tempo rogue.
Yeah, this card just taking up a card from your starting hand as a rogue deck that wants to curve out is just really bad.
Okay.
Just really rather have any other card in your opening hand.
The payoff's not strong enough, basically.
Yeah.
The payoff's like a little defensive, which isn't what Rogue's trying to do.
I personally find this card extremely insulting because we just had Crystal Core, and then they make this card. Like, wow. I just want a Quest Rogue to be good again, and this is what they give us. Thanks, Blizzard.
Okay, so 1?
Yeah.
All right. So now back to Clever Disguise. 1?
Yes. 1.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
Easy 1. All right. So I guess we can just jump to Socket Sapper. 4 mana, 4/4 Death Rattle. Return a random enemy minion to your opponent's hand. And it's a pirate, which I guess isn't terribly relevant, but it's probably better than Ticket Scalper that I know some people like to play.
True.
So, already, if Ticket Scalper, I don't think the Pirate Rogue deck is ever playable by my standards. So just because this card's better than Ticket Scalper does not make it playable. Being a 4/4 for 4, it's just the fact that it's a Death Rattle. Obviously, if this card's Battle Cry, it would be insanely nutty because the tempo swing would just be huge. But the fact that this guy has to die in order to get the effect, and your opponent can control how it dies, I give it a 1.
Works with the Captain Hook Tusk, but I really don't like Captain Hook Tusk, and I think it's too slow.
I just don't think the Hook Tusk is good enough. It's cool that this is a pirate, but pirates, we still have South Sea Captain, but it's just not good enough. No.
I agree. Gonna be a 1 for me. Pharaoh Cat. 1 mana, 1/2. It's a beast. Battlecry, add a random reborn minion to your hand. It's cheap, can be used as an activator for something like Miscreant or SI7 Agent, or basically any combo card. Add some value to your hand, and most of the reborn minions aren't expensive. Some are, but some are also cheap, like 3, 2, 4 mana. That being said, a lot of the reborn minions aren't great. And also Rogue doesn't have a whole lot to do on 1, so this could be something you could just play on 1. I don't think this is awful. I think it's definitely playable, but I don't think it's like the nuts.
I think this card is barely playable. I just think the Reborn pool is exceptionally bad. They're all minions. Like, the cool thing about Swashbuckler was that you could get a spell. You could get freaking Doctor Boom off of it. Mad Genius. Like, you could literally get anything. But with Pharaoh Cat, it's just reborn minions. Like, there's no spells you can get. All the reborn minions are just stat minions. Like, none of them have battle cries. The best reborn minion's probably Restless Mummy, the 4 mana 3/2 rush.
Yeah.
Since it's like pseudo removal.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a couple of taunts. Like, there's the 4 mana 2/5 taunt reborn, the 6 mana 3/4 taunt reborn that restores 3 health to your hero. Everything else is just a regular minion that you play out and does absolutely nothing and just sits there. So
I think it's a 2 for me.
I
don't think it's unplayable. I think people might be able to squeeze it in because it doesn't always activate Vendetta, but sometimes it can.
Okay.
And people are already running Blink Fox.
Sometimes activates Vendetta. I'll give it a 2.
You're next?
Sorry. Shadow of Death. 4 mana spell, choose a minion, shuffle 3 shadows into your deck that summon a copy when drawn. Yeah, this is like people's favorite type of card because they just get to go to Magic Christmas Land where all their combos come true, and they always have 9 mana and Leroy, and they just draw them. They're already fatiguing. They've already played Myra's. Somehow they still haven't won the game. So they're empty decked and they just, Shadow of Death or Leroy. And yeah, I don't know. I think this card's really bad. But
I think
mean,
it's
just
interesting.
It just does nothing. It's not Luna. With Luna's Pocket Galaxy, there are a lot of minions you can draw. With this card, there are exactly 3 copies you can draw. And when you draw them, it automatically summons them, whether you wanted it or not. And this requires you to have a minion in play. You had to have played a minion. It's had to have survived. You've had to have wanted to play Shadow of Death on it. Or if you want to do it in the same turn, this card's 4 mana. Like, if this card was like 2 mana, I could see it, but 4 is just so much.
And you can also use it on opponent's minions.
Oh.
Not that that makes it
point.
a crazy amount better, but it is a little bit more flexible.
Yeah.
But
That's
still,
a good point.
what minions are you going to shuffle from your opponent that
Yeah, voluntarily.
that are great for you? Because I mean, if they're great minions, you kind of already want them in your deck. But
This card to me is more of like an ethereal lackey nerf for Rogue.
it's fine with me.
Oh yeah, fine with me too. But yeah, that's kind of how I view it. It's just an ethereal lackey nerf.
Play it on a giant. Sure. If I play my giant and you play this, I'll be really happy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then they're gonna summon 3 giants, and they're gonna be like, "Haha, I got you." Now.
Oh, it's gonna be like what do you call the spider thing all over again? Oh my God.
Oh yeah. But at least that 4 mana card gave you a 4/4 when you played it. This card just straight up gives you nothing.
It is a tempo investment, Stoiker, but it's not a great tempo investment. In fact, I'd even say it's a bad tempo investment.
Yeah. 4 mana.
It's a 1 for me.
Yeah, it's 1 for me, dog. 1 for me.
Hooked Scimitar. 3 mana 2/2 weapon with combo gain +2 attack. Okay, I have a couple of questions to kind of help evaluate this. One, and this is actually something relevant for you too, because you brought like aggro rogue to GM a couple of weeks, or at least 1 week. Yeah. Would you run this in that aggressive weapon deck?
Probably not.
I think you'd rather just more consistently get your waggle pick, because if you're including this, it means that the raiding party, it doesn't always get you pick.
Technically, this can be less mana for the same amount of damage waggle pick gives you. But the death rattle on waggle pick's just too good.
Yeah.
Bouncing Miscreant, Life Drinker, all that good stuff. Like, it's just too good.
So you'd rather just have the waggle pick, which means that you wouldn't want to run this in that. Which means the next question is, would you run this in normal tempo rogue?
No.
Also probably not, because it doesn't do a crazy amount for tempo either. Like, its weapons are good for tempo, but this one doesn't do anything too crazy. This is equivalent to running Dagger Deadly, right? Because it's about the same thing. The difference is, like, you could deadly this as well, but we're already not running deadly, so because of that, I don't think this card's that great.
I think if Pirate Rogue, if Raiding Party was still 3 mana, and Waggle Pick was never printed, I think this card would be played.
Yep.
But none of that is true, so this card's trash.
1 for me.
That's my analysis.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say about it.
Yeah.
It is included in the combo pool for the next card we're going to talk about.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Combo. Whenever you play a combo card out of a random combo to your hand.
Yeah.
And I did go through the combo cards when this card first came out, and I was pretty unimpressed. There's, like, some real bad ones, like Cursed Castaway. Like Cold Blood is decent. Eviscerate's decent. Obviously Miscreant and SI are, like, you won the lottery. I think there's, like, how many did you say?
9.
Oh, did you not say?
Oh, I didn't say it now. I said it in like my initial card review. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 with this weapon. Yeah, so 13.
So, SI, Eviscerate, and Miscreant 3 out of 13 times, which is basically like almost 1/4.
Yeah.
You hit. What are the other ones? I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Cold Blood.
Edwin.
Yeah, Edwin's a good one. But the other ones are not that. Like, there's some that are okay for tempo. Like, if you get Ringleader, all right, fine, you can chain that. Buccaneer doesn't do a whole lot. Miscreant's obviously great. Perdition's Blade is like, I guess you can play it, but it's not awesome. Headcrack doesn't help you. SI7's fine. Raiding Party doesn't help you. Eviscerate's good, obviously. Cold Blood can't be good for Reach. And then you have like Crazed Chemist, which is too janky, but still could be used for burn. And then Kidnapper, which is also kind of janky.
Yeah. Yeah, this card's just a 1.
But it's like none of those are cheap enough that you can like combo it, right? Like
Yeah,
you can't have a huge turn where you just generate a bunch of stuff, like Underbelly Angler, for example. So yeah, I think it's a 1 for me as well.
It's actually really funny because if this card was a 2, or if this card cost 1 mana, this card would be like a 3.
It is kind of funny, actually, yeah.
Like if it was just 1 mana, that would be nuts, right? Like you could just combo it easily with other stuff.
And then that
It's just
combo
so
gives
funny,
you more,
like,
yeah.
It's literally unplayable at 2, but at 1, it's like so freaking good. So close.
Next one. So legendary minion, 5 mana, 5/5, Anka the Buried. Battlecry, change each Death Rattle minion in your hand into a 1/1 that costs 1 mana. Applications, basically any Death Rattle minion. Mecha'thun, probably bad. In fact, I'm going to say it's just bad because people have tried making it work in the past and it still wasn't great. This helps it a little bit, but I still don't think it's going to make that crazy. We're not really running that many Death Rattles in Rogue as is. So I don't see how this will push that a bit farther. You can run stuff like Blight Nozzle Crawler, Mechanical Whelp, which is kind of a deck that people are trying out before Rise of Shadows, I think. Board Control played a bunch of like Death Rattle Rogue on stream with a Necream Blade and stuff like that. Maybe that makes a sort of comeback, especially with something like the new Nerubian Egg that comes out. But it's hard to kind of picture that because the broken stuff you do there. Actually, no, you still could beat Mage with the Blight Nozzle Crawlers against Giants. Maybe it is playable.
I mean, Anka's definitely...
Anka, yeah, for sure. I guess I was talking about the deck itself.
Yeah, the deck itself. I don't like including cards like Mechanical Whelp in the deck, but you kind of have to.
So you can do this on 5, and then on turn 6 you can do a 1 mana Death Rattle plus Necream Vial.
Yeah, I mean, when you draw this card on curve, it's really good. And that alone might make it good enough to... Like, it's such a good card in that style of deck that you would probably even keep it in your opening hand, I would think.
Probably.
It's that good. Like, getting a 1 mana 1/1 Mechanical Whelp, that's just broken. Even like Blight Nozzle Crawler. It's just...
Actually, I think this card's very powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
It might be a bit early to see if the deck is powerful enough because we have to play it and see how it lines up against the meta. But I think this might be a 3. No,
I'm gonna give it a 2 just because I don't think the archetype's that good, but I think
that was my reservation. Now, like, I'm not sure about the archetype, but I think if it does exist, this card's good in it.
Oh yeah, if the archetype's ever like straight up good, it's because of this card, and like one other card we just might be overlooking. But the problem for me is that a lot of these Death Rattle minions are expensive. So when you don't draw Anka, you're just kind of stranded with bad cards in your hand.
So right now, Rogue doesn't do stuff until like turn 3 anyways, right? Sometimes on turn 2 you coin out like a miscreant or something.
Yeah.
How I saw Boar playing the deck, Blink Fox, I don't know.
You play the Necreum file as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So how I saw Boar play it is that he just like hard mulligan for Necream Blade, and then he just play it based on whatever he gets. Like, you curve into Blight Nozzle Crawler, great. You curve into Egg, sure, good enough. Like, stuff like that.
The Egg is really interesting. Is there a good way to, like, take advantage of it?
Cold Blood, Lackeys. You would probably still run Lackeys in this deck, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So hold on here. Ship an Egg. It's a 2 mana 0/3. You could Sun Fury? Would you run Sun? You probably run like one Sun Fury maybe.
Wait, what?
In that sort of Death Rattle deck?
Oh, just a straight up Death Rattle, yeah. I just don't think this is better than playing like... I don't think you could fit Lackeys in if you play all this.
Oh, because you don't have enough
like,
cheap stuff to...
Like you want to run like Step Back Stab I don't even know if you're on step in this deck.
Probably not.
Yeah. I think Rogue's already, like, really strong. Like, it doesn't... Anka's just kind of a distraction.
Okay. That's reasonable. I'd change my mind to it too. I just got excited.
I know. I mean... I honestly think it's only as good as it was, I don't know, as Mechathune. I'll give it a 2.
Okay. The effect is powerful. It's just, again, the card isn't something like Bakur again, where it's like, it's good, so I'll include it because it just makes my deck good. This is sort of like, sometimes when you draw this, the deck's good, and even when you draw this, is the deck good enough to do other stuff against the current meta decks?
So I have the next one. Bizarre Mugger. 5 mana, 3/5 rush. Battle cry, add a random minion from another class to your hand. Adding a minion, it's not spell. It's statted worse than Hinge Clan Burglar. It does activate Vendetta. Still worse than Blink Fox, even though Blink Fox against the mirror match doesn't always give you it won't give you another card for another class, so it's not as good there. But I don't know. I mean, 3/5 rush is like pretty good. I just think 5 mana is too much. Like, if this is, it's like one of those examples of, I think at 5 mana it's at 1. At 4 mana this is like
3.
Man, probably not even a 3. Yeah, it actually is a 3. Yeah. At 4 mana it's a 3.
I don't think it's good enough at 5. I think,
But at 5 it's just a 1.
defensively statted with rush, I think is good. I think the effect is good. I think at 5 mana it's not broken enough. Like, that's the thing. It's slightly less than fair, maybe even close to fair. But we're running cards because they're busted, not because they're fair.
It's a 1 for me.
Okay. Plague of Madness. 1 mana spell. Each player equips a 2/2 knife with poisonous. This came up a little bit when I was reviewing it a bit. Some of the cards earlier. I went over like the first third of the set just to kind of get some stuff out there. Firebat was saying this is kind of similar to Weapons Project because obviously you're both getting a knife or like a weapon. The thing with Weapons Project is when you're running Weapons Project weapon removal or like Harrison or stuff like that, it's good in Warrior when you want to get more cards out of it and stuff like that. In Rogue, you're not really going to run this with Harrison just to get the 1+5 off. And you probably aren't going to be running stuff like Acidic Swamp Ooze. So because of that, I don't think this card is great. This lets you kill giants, which is nice, but I mean, you also give your opponent something to clear your own board with, which is less good. I don't know. Maybe this is just fine. I'm my first instinct is that it's questionable.
The question to me is, would you ever play? I think this card's never played in primary. First off.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think this card's just strictly tech card against Mage. But against Mage, would you want this over Walk the Plank or Betrayal?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think you'd even want it over Sap even.
Agreed.
So it's just out trump. There's just better cards that remove minions. I mean, it's a cool card. It's 1 mana.
Adds to the Ethereal Lackeys, right?
Yeah, it's a nice option off Ethereal Lackey when you just need an answer for Giant. It's actually going to be pretty insane off Ethereal Lackey. I mean, just imagine 5 mana, like backstab Miscreant, play Ethereal Lackey.
Play him out.
Stop.
I don't want to hear this, man. The one of... Go ahead.
Yeah, you already know it. Just using the 5th mana to clear the Giant.
After you emote, Happy Midsummer Fire Festival.
The worst part is, like, as soon as they play the Miscreant, you just know that possibility's out there. All you can do is just wait to see. And when it happens, oof. But yeah, there's just better options if you want to put a card into your deck.
Agreed. Cool. One more class
Shaman.
down. What's the average for Rogue? 1.2. Oof. Okay.
Rogue got the worst of it.
So far, yep. Ooh,
Which kind of makes sense, because they make these sets in advance. So if they knew Evil Miscreant was in the last set, I don't think they're going to, like, throw Rogue too many bones. Like, they got that Akash, or is that the name of it? Or Anka?
Yeah, Anka.
But that was about it. Pharaoh Cat.
I think it's fine. If they add weight, like if they had 2 more cards that fit in the deck that we see now, that'd be really problematic. So I think it's fine that they're trying to push in different ways, and because of that, that means that the cards aren't rated as highly. It's fine.